The dark art of the fear hunter. How the law of power teaches you to expose others' weaknesses. What if you discovered that your fears are maps to other people's power? There's a dark truth few dare to acknowledge. While you're busy hiding your weaknesses, someone is methodically hunting them, like a silent predator in the shadows. The true power holder doesn't attack your strengths, they seduce your vulnerabilities. The 33rd law of power reveals something unsettling. Discover each person's weak spot. Robert Greene wasn't just suggesting a strategy, he was exposing the anatomy of human domination. But here's the paradox few understand. To avoid being hunted, you must first become the hunter. Think about Cardinal Mazarin, the Italian-born French statesman who wielded more influence than kings. While monarchs fought bloody wars for territory, Mazarin conquered through psychological precision. He understood that every human carries invisible wounds, childhood traumas, secret shames, desperate needs for validation. He didn't need armies. He had something far more powerful: the ability to see what others desperately tried to hide. But Mazarin understood something most ignore. The fear hunter carries a curse. When you develop the ability to see through human masks, when you can identify exactly where each person is vulnerable, you lose something fundamental: the capacity for genuine trust. It's the price of social clairvoyance. The first practical action is devastatingly simple. For 1 week, observe people around you without judgment, merely mapping patterns. Notice when they become uncomfortable, what makes them change subjects, which topics they avoid. You'll discover that everyone has emotional blind spots, territories where they become predictable and controllable. Fear functions as a universal language. When someone fears abandonment, they unconsciously become excessively helpful. When they dread appearing incompetent, they compensate with unnecessary arrogance. When they're terrified of rejection, they accept situations they should refuse. Each fear creates a specific behavioral pattern, and patterns can be exploited. But here lies the true curse. Once you see these patterns, you can never unsee them. It's like having emotional X-ray vision. You glimpse the fragility behind every persona, the insecurity masked by every confident attitude. The world becomes a theater where you know everyone's script. The difference between the vulgar manipulator and the true strategist lies in applying this perception. The manipulator exploits weaknesses to destroy. The strategist understands them to protect themselves and, when necessary, to influence subtly and effectively. It's the difference between using a scalpel to wound or to heal. If you've made it this far, it means you're willing to carry this curse. Type "hunter" in the comments if you're prepared to see beyond the masks. Like this video if truth doesn't scare you, and subscribe to the channel if you want to master the power games everyone plays, but few admit. How to transform others' vulnerability into strategic advantage. The second layer of the curse is even more disturbing. Discovering that people don't just have weaknesses, they constantly display them, begging to be dominated. It's as if every individual carries an invisible sign announcing exactly where they can be wounded. The 27th law of power teaches, play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. But this goes beyond obvious manipulation. It's about understanding that every human being has a specific void that needs to be filled, and whoever identifies that void controls the person who possesses it. Consider Cleopatra, who conquered the most powerful men of her era not through beauty alone, but through her surgical ability to identify what each leader most craved. For Caesar, it was intellectual stimulation and exotic mystery. For Mark Antony, it was the fantasy of being chosen by a goddess. She became the supplier of these needs and, consequently, the controller of these men. The second practical action is psychologically devastating. Identify the primary emotional need of 3 people close to you. It could be approval, control, security, recognition, or love. Once identified, observe how they behave differently when that need is being threatened or satisfied. You'll discover that possessing this information is like having master keys to their personality. But here's the darkest aspect. People unconsciously test boundaries, searching for someone strong enough to dominate them. Intelligently, they respect those who can see through their defenses and still treat them with strategic dignity. It's a disturbing paradox of human nature. True power doesn't come from brutally attacking weaknesses. but from positioning yourself as the solution to the insecurities you've identified. When someone fears appearing incompetent, you become the person who always highlights their qualities. When they dread abandonment, you become the constant, reliable presence. It's not manipulation, it's social architecture. The curse deepens when you realize this skill works both to protect and to conquer. You can anticipate when someone will try to manipulate you because you recognize the techniques being applied. You can neutralize psychological attacks because you understand the mechanics behind them, but you also lose the innocence of believing people's surface motivations. The fear hunter learns that every human relationship is, fundamentally, a negotiation of vulnerabilities. Each person offers something the other needs, consciously or not. Power lies in being the one who orchestrates these exchanges with mastery, always maintaining a position of strategic advantage. The most sophisticated practitioners understand that vulnerability is social currency. People connect through shared weaknesses, not displayed strengths. When you show a calculated flaw, others feel safe to reveal their real flaws. It's an unequal exchange where you offer copper and receive gold. Type strategy in the comments if you're starting to see the hidden patterns in your relationships. Like if you want to learn to navigate these psychological waters with wisdom, and subscribe to master the subtle art of true power. Why do the most powerful choose their own weaknesses? Here, we reach the most disturbing paradox of the curse. True masters of power don't hide their weaknesses, they manufacture them strategically. It's the difference between being vulnerable by accident and being vulnerable by design. The 21st law of power reveals, play a sucker to catch a sucker, but this is merely the surface of a deeper truth. Great strategists understand that showing controlled vulnerability is the most sophisticated form of manipulation. It's like using emotional bait to fish for predators. Consider Mata Hari, the exotic dancer turned spy who fooled intelligence agencies across Europe. She deliberately cultivated the image of a frivolous woman obsessed with luxury and romance, allowing enemies to completely underestimate her. While they saw a vain courtesan chasing diamonds and champagne, she was extracting military secrets from high-ranking officials. Her weakness for extravagance was, in reality, her greatest weapon. The third practical action is revolutionary. Identify an area where you can appear vulnerable without actually being so. It could be feigning insecurity about something you've mastered, or demonstrating need in an area where you're self-sufficient. Use this manufactured vulnerability to make others lower their guard around you. The mechanism is psychologically brilliant. When you reveal a controlled weakness, people feel superior and, paradoxically, more confident in your presence. They relax their defenses because they believe they have an advantage over you. It's in this moment of false security that you gain access to their real vulnerabilities. But the curse deepens here. You begin to realize that even your genuine weaknesses can be transformed into power tools. Your anxiety can become meticulousness that impresses. Your insecurity can transform into humility that disarms adversaries. Your impulsiveness can become charismatic spontaneity. The experienced fear hunter understands that vulnerability is social currency. People bond through shared weaknesses, not exhibited strengths. When you show a calculated flaw, others feel safe revealing their real flaws. It's an unequal trade where you offer tin and receive platinum. The darkest truth is that we all manufacture vulnerabilities constantly, just without realizing it. We complain about problems we secretly pride ourselves on having. We pretend to be victims of circumstances we actually chose. The difference is that masters do this consciously, with strategic purpose. The ultimate realization is chilling. People don't just want to be understood, they want to be conquered by someone intelligent enough to see through them completely. They crave the relief of being truly seen, even if it means being controlled. It's why they're drawn to those who can decode their hidden scripts. Absolute power doesn't come from having no weaknesses, it comes from choosing which weaknesses to show, when to show them, and to whom. It's the difference between being an open book and being a puzzle people think they can solve. Type control in the comments if you're realizing how your own vulnerabilities can be redesigned. Like if you want to learn the art of strategic weakness, and subscribe to discover the deepest secrets of true power. What if the hunter's curse was actually liberation? The final revelation of the curse is the most bewildering. When you completely master the art of mapping human weaknesses, you discover that the greatest power isn't in exploiting these vulnerabilities, it's in transcending them entirely. The true fear hunter eventually becomes immune to the very game they mastered. The 48th law of power, the last and most profound, teaches, assume formlessness. It's not just about adaptability, it's about becoming so conscious of human patterns that you can operate beyond them. You free yourself from the need to have weaknesses to manipulate, because you've developed far more subtle forms of influence. Look at how Walt Disney operated in his later years. He reached a point where his influence transcended any specific vulnerability. He didn't need to fake weaknesses or exploit others in obvious ways. His strength lay in understanding human psychology so deeply that he could shape desires before people even knew they had them. He became a creator of dreams rather than a hunter of fears. The fourth practical action is liberating. For one entire day, practice interacting with people without trying to identify or exploit their weaknesses. Instead, observe how you can influence through strategic authenticity by being genuinely interesting, useful, or inspiring. Discover that there's power in not needing power. The real curse of the fear hunter isn't seeing others' weaknesses, it's realizing you've become addicted to the sensation of superiority that this vision provides. It's like a psychological drug. The more you see through people, the more you need that feeling of control to feel secure. But there's an elegant escape from this mental prison. When you understand that all human vulnerability stems from the fundamental fear of not being enough, you can choose to operate from a different place, from genuine abundance, instead of strategic scarcity. You stop hunting weaknesses because you no longer need them to feel powerful. The final paradox is that true power comes from helping others overcome their vulnerabilities instead of exploiting them. When you become someone who strengthens instead of weakens, who elevates instead of diminishes, you achieve something far more valuable than domination. You earn genuine loyalty and lasting respect. The curse transforms into blessing when you realize that knowing human weaknesses allows you to be more compassionate, not more cruel, more protective, not more predatory. The mature fear hunter becomes the guardian of the vulnerabilities they once pursued. This is the secret few discover. Supreme power lies in not needing to use it. When you completely master the game, you gain the freedom to choose not to play. You transcend the very system that once defined you. Becoming something beyond hunter or hunted, you become truly free. Type transcendence in the comments if you're ready to go beyond the hunt. Like if this video changed your perspective on power and vulnerability. Subscribe to continue exploring the deepest mysteries of human nature, and share with someone who needs to discover these truths.